Hi, my name is Humberto Castañeda. This is PsychoBerto, and I'm a total layperson. Welcome back. Today, I'm going to react once again to one of my friend Kirk's videos about 90 Days Fiance, before the 90 days. This is a series I watched somewhat begrudgingly. I didn't watch all of it, to be fair. I watched a few of the characters. I think I watched this one, Ash and Avery, if I'm not wrong. So I'm gonna react to some of his clips that he's talking about, and I usually add my own opinions based on life experiences and things I've had. So no professional opinions, just layperson opinions.
My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor, and I'm going to react to this TV show.
There's some things that I have questions about, so I really wanted this alone time, just me and her. Ash and Sion divorced 10 years ago. Based on what I gathered, as co-parents, him and Sion have an amazing relationship together. And Ash told me early on that Sion has an open mind when it comes to Ash moving to the US with his son Taj.
Thank you very much.
Very welcome.
But I really need to be able to hear that from her.
Now, I will commend Ash for allowing, so to speak, his girlfriend and his ex-wife to have a conversation. A lot of people would be very uncomfortable to the point where they wouldn't facilitate that.
I see that point here. Several thoughts come to mind, though. First off, this is weird, right? Because imagine the setup. Like, you're in this new relationship, and there is such level of distrust that you're like, okay, well, why don't you go meet up with my ex-wife or my ex or whoever, or my mom or my friend, and then go ask him about me. I mean, that's red flags, right? Like, why are we at this point in this situation where you're going to go interrogate someone that I've had prior relationships with, or that I'm in a relationship with because they're family or whoever, trying to dig up dirt on me or confirm fears or whatever? Like, that's madness. Now, I realize it's a show, and, did he really want to do this? Was this his idea? Did the producers put him up to it? Like, what if you told her she could meet your ex? I wouldn't put it past, like, the producers coming up with this plot line, right? Like, oh, I got it. She meets his ex. And sure. But whether it was his idea or not, like, it's pretty unhealthy, right? Now, the flip side is, sure, I guess it is, he feels that this will show how much he cares about her because, like, look, you can go talk to her and I won't be there. But how odd is that? If anything, normally you would think, well, hey, listen, there's someone I would like you to meet. So let's go together. We're going to go meet this person. In this case, this is my ex. Now, would you really take your current new relationship to go meet your ex? Probably not. But if she's a friend of yours, and in this case, she's a co-parent of the child that this person will have a relationship with as well, that actually might not be a bad idea. And then, of course, if it's, if it makes everyone feel more comfortable for them to do it by themselves, I suppose. I just find it like it's a flawed premise to begin with. It's like, why are you on a fact-finding mission about me? Like, this seems unhealthy. And I realize that they are at an unhealthy state of their relationship. So, not surprising, but not great.
Ash is like an amazing guy.
Sure.
Like, he is extremely sweet.
Sure.
He is very empathetic.
Yeah, no, I agree. The predominant Ash I know is easygoing, polite, and he's very much a really good person. But something about him, I should say, it took me years to know when he was stressed. Because he was, yeah, cool, everything's fine.
So that's great. So we're getting confirmation on Ash's defenses that his ex-wife says, it took me years to figure out when he was stressed out.
Wow. I always have to remind myself, they are being filmed. So she knows she's got to sign a waiver. He had to be okay with this happening. But she's sitting there like about, spilling dirt on her ex, and they have a relationship in that they have they're both parents, and so presumably she doesn't want to permanently ruin that situation. Maybe she's not saying anything that he doesn't already know. I love the dramatic music. Oh, wow, my worst fears confirmed. And now, as far as dirt, so far, it's pretty mild, right? Like, all right, cool.
But the Ash that you see today is very different to the Ash that I was in a relationship with. He's grown a lot and changed a lot.
When did you guys divorce? How long ago was that?
About a year ago.
Wait, you guys divorced a year ago?
Divorce is messy, and a lot of time, not all the time, but it often is messy. And it's not uncommon for couples to break up and to stay legally married for a lot longer after they have emotionally, physically, romantically, sexually broken up.
Yes. However, I could sense the shock. I was shocked. Just, again, not so much that that's too soon or whatever. Just she should not have been surprised. Is she fully surprised? Is this just a scene in a show? Who knows? But she should not have been surprised. The idea would have been, okay, I'm comfortable with you going to talk with my ex, which, like I said, is already suspect. But so just so you know, yeah, we've been officially divorced for a year. Here's the deal. Like, give her some details. Give her some information. Why have her flying in blind? And now she's going to be like, wait, you've only been divorced for a year. Like, that's so fresh or whatever, right? Oh my gosh, I feel manipulated again. Like, really? You didn't know this, or you didn't ask? Like, why didn't she? Come on. The flip side is, so what? What if it's just a month? Well, I don't know how long they were communicating before that. That could be an issue. But yeah, another aspect which is interesting here is just the idea that, like, well, if you guys didn't work out, it was for some reason, and I'm trying to find out what those reasons are, because that's why we may not work out. Man, that seems self-fulfilling. I don't like it. I don't like this one bit.
I got the perception from him that it happened a long time ago.
No, separated. We've been separated for like years.
It's completely a shocker to me that they were still married only a few months before we started dating. It makes me wonder why he would hide that from me. So how come it took so long to divorce? It wasn't because you guys are trying to still figure things out.
No, it's not. It wasn't anything to do with it. Literally, I think because we are amicable, there just wasn't this urgency about it.
So that might sound weird to some people, but I've seen people do that before. There's a time when you break up, and I could totally imagine. Sion seems like a very easygoing person, and we also know Ash is very positive. So I could absolutely imagine them breaking up and saying, you know what, I don't think this is working out. And I could imagine both of them being very positive and saying, okay, I'll move out of the house. We'll see our kid Taj. And Taj would have been very young at the time. So they probably saw each other a lot, the parents, because they're seeing the child a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem whatsoever with that. They've only been divorced for a year. Again, the weird part for me is why this is coming as a shock. This should have been clear. It sounds like she did talk to him about it, and he just wasn't forthcoming. And sure, in his brain, I could see him explaining it like, well, I mean, I didn't want to give you the whole legal details. We just were separated for years and blah, blah. But come on. I mean, okay, if you're at the point where you're sending your new relationship to go talk to your ex, if you're going to go down that road, at least give enough information so that oh my gosh, I'm falling for it, aren't I? Like, the producers are just laughing all the way to the bank. Like, yeah, that's the reaction we wanted. This seems unbelievable to me. This seems set up. This part seems set up, like, for extra drama. And if it's not, like, come on. What are you thinking? I give too much credit sometimes to people.
Taj is my world. Taj is my world. I cannot even, I can't even fathom being in a different country. I just can't. And look, if Ash goes there to America, I want Taj to spend time with Ash.
Yeah.
But I said to Ash, shouldn't it be the other way around, that you spend your time with Taj for the next 5 years and somehow make it work with Avery and go see her like 4 times a year or whatever?
So this is another thing that one way of putting it is that Ash has been lying to Avery, or another way of putting it is defensive, sweeping under the rug out of terror of negativity, destroying his world. He has been giving the impression that Sion is totally cool with Taj moving to the United States. She clearly is not cool with that, which is expected.
Oh my gosh, this one hurts. This one really hurts. As a child of ugly divorce, so I was 3 when my parents got nastily divorced. I ended up with my dad. My mom, unfortunately, felt that, she was afraid of my father, I guess, and she didn't feel she could have me at the time. So I ended up with my father. This is hard for me because the idea, like if I have a child and the relationship with the other parent didn't work out, man, I just cannot imagine having to part with that child for any length of time. This has got to be the hardest thing to deal with. I have a friend that went through a divorce, and then the other person moved out of state, and the son went with, man, I just can't imagine. That is so painful. So the expectation that this would be just like, well, yeah. That is crazy. I guess it's super hopeful thinking, but it shows a lack of empathy because, number one, to the mother, if he knows her at all, because from what I'm hearing right now, she has the normal reaction I would expect a mother to have, which is, no, that's like, I can't imagine. He's my world. Like him in another country. Like what? Second, to his new relationship, because making it sound like, yeah, this is fine. Oh, she's fine. Wait, and then the new relationship, in this case, Avery being like, I buy that. I buy that she's totally cool. I guess maybe if you don't know, I don't know. It seems a little unbelievable to me that you would assume that the other party is cool with it. Maybe that's why she needed to meet with her in the first place. She had all these doubts. That seems like the worst part I've heard so far. The assumption that, this is going to be fine. Such a monumental change. Going to it's not even a different state. It's not a different city. It's a different country. And such a faraway country. Just imagine what it means to visit. I moved to the United States when I was 15 years old. And the idea in my head is that I was going to get to visit Colombia once a year to see my dad, to see the rest of my family. At the time, Colombia was embroiled in a very, very, very difficult situation with Pablo Escobar and the drugs and the attacks and the bombings and stuff. To me, it doesn't matter. I think I should have been sent. My mom decided not to do it. She was afraid, I guess. But it was brutal. So I moved at 15. I didn't see anyone for 6 years. I'm scarred to this day. I'll never recover from that in a sense because it changed my entire life. And 6 years later, I was 21 years old. That is, And then again, just to assume that such changes are going to be fine. I'm upset. I'm actually upset. The show's working.
Hearing her true feelings, it's disappointing to know that Ash is still trying to sugarcoat things rather than just telling me the honest truth. Thank you for giving me your perspective. I am very empathetic.
Thank you.
And I've told him that if the situation is creating issues, I don't want you to come to America. And we would have to, figure that situation out.
Now, I will say that lying is wrong. Sometimes when I talk this way and I talk about defense mechanisms, people think that I'm excusing immoral behavior. It is immoral to lie. But as a therapist, it usually isn't very helpful for me to just see it as a morality issue only. It is an immoral act. It is wrong. People should not do it. And we need to fight against that. And if we understand why people do it, then we can help actually cure the problem so that they don't have an impulse to lie. It also gives us a route to have a relationship with that person and not interpret it like Ash is out to get me. It's like, no, Ash has a problem based on his childhood that results in this bad behavior that is immoral, but he's not doing it purposely to hurt me. It's not personal. I find this to be a very liberating point of view that really facilitates actually everyone getting their needs met.
I actually had a debate with Dr. Honda a while ago in one of our episodes. So we've had this debate multiple times. It's about free will. I think, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I feel like in our debate, he felt that we do have free will to a practical extent, or to a real extent, actually. And I was debating that we don't. I follow the line of logic from, say, Sam Harris, that is that you can't really have such a thing as free will. And I'm not even saying like because of the speed of the brain or anything. I just mean if you fundamentally define free will as an independent entity reacting to input in a way that is completely independent of any other input. Do you see where we're getting here? It's not possible. It's just by definition impossible. Let alone when you start looking at the physics and the mechanics of it all, we just don't have free will in that ultimate sense. Now, day to day, does it feel like we do? And should we practically and for legal purpose and stuff? Oh, definitely. Like right now, I'm free willing what I'm going to say. Am I going to say the letter A or the letter Q? Now, as we know, there are multiple reasons why the things that popped into my head were the alphabet and the choices they did, and why the letter A and the Q were chosen. And I don't know all the reasons, but I bet you they can be traced. Still, for practical purposes, you didn't know I was going to say that. I kind of didn't know I was going to say that, and I chose it, seemingly. Seems to me like I chose it. That feels like free will, right? But once you accept that what we feel seems like free will isn't really free will, like Dr. Honda was saying, which is why it's funny that we got into this debate, because I actually agree. It is liberating. It's liberating to the point, and this is an argument that Sam Harris makes, that you start looking at justice in a different way and criminality in a different way. When you think of the most horrific things that are imaginable, and you don't put it through the perspective of like, that person is an evil character in a movie and I hate that evil character, but rather you look at it in this sort of detached way, which I realize maybe it seems a little monstrous to do it in this way, but if you try the experiment, you look at it like, okay, that's another collection of atoms in molecules that is reacting to stimulus. And because of the previous inputs into that system, the outputs are affecting me negatively by my perspective, but that this isn't some sort of universal battle of platonic good and evil. You know, it's different. So then you look at someone that stole something, you know, to keep it non-horrific. Someone stole something and you think, wow, that person shouldn't have stole something. And by our society standards, yep, that's right. However, should we spend energy being angry and furious? Oh, you thief, you evil thief. Or should we be like, oh, well, we should do something about it. Laws need to be passed. Laws need to be enforced. People need to be prevented from stealing. But they stole for a variety of inputs into their system because when they were little, this happened. Their genetic code is such. Last week, this happened. This morning, they stubbed their toe, blah, blah, blah. And the result actually had little to do with their control at that moment. If we wanted to look at the things that could have been changed, we'd have to rewind the clock to the beginning of time. So what does that mean? That they're not held accountable? Nope. They're definitely held accountable. Held accountable in sort of a less passionate way, in a more like, well, sucks we have to deal with this, but we have to deal with this, and we can't allow these things to go on. And certainly the more egregious that the behavior is, the more society has to be prevented from it, because we don't want it. It's destructive. In the case of lying, same thing. But I do agree with this perspective that if we just stop there and go like, that person's bad, they lied, and we leave it there, like we haven't really learned anything. And we haven't acknowledged that that person is human and that they will continue to be a complex creature. And it's certainly not going to change. Like, things aren't going to change in relationships or individually if you just like point at things and say bad, good, right? It's way more complex than that. All that said, I think this is egregious. I'm upset. I'm pointing fingers. I'm saying bad. Yes, he's got all the reasons why it happened, why he was being not clear with both of these people, why he's putting them in this situation. Now, I think, personally, I think that this is just a crazy situation, because we are dealing with people that are trying to get their relationship to work, and they're being filmed, and they're talking about very, very bad things about their relationship. So why have we not called it off already? That said, this is true of real relationships. And so that is where I see the reality being presented here through the fake reality, right? The reality is that, in fact, people do get into these complex situations. They don't really know how to get out of them. People look for ways to justify behavior and so forth. It's just that usually they're not being filmed. But the amount of red flags here, that you are meeting with the ex to try to understand if all the things you are not liking about this person that you relatively just met, and that you're trying to make this huge decision about moving to another country. Dude, call it off. It didn't work. I'm sorry. Sorry. Harsh, I know, but...
It's really tough to wrap my head around, and it does complicate things moving forward.
All right, well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle, in which I reacted to the TV show 90 Day Fiance.
Yeah, I thank you once again, Dr. Kirk, for your reactions. I wish that we understood the damage being done to these individuals by participating in these experiences. I'm hoping that there isn't. I'm hoping that these are introspective experiences for them. But there's something a little bit off for me ethically from the show. Like, I know that people sign waivers and they're adults and all these things. Do they get counseling? I want to find out. Maybe they do. Maybe I'm just uninformed. Do they get paid counseling by the producers, by the show, so that they can work through this? What about the ramifications of the fame that they end up getting? I know, for example, that Ash has received some backlash for some of the episodes and things like that. What are the responsibilities here? And what is the responsibility towards what we are trying to educate people to do in relationships? Guilty as charged. I watched so much reality television. I watched all the How to Marry a Millionaire and all those things. And I didn't really think about these things. It is entertaining to watch human drama. It is entertaining, unfortunately, to watch people failing and people getting into arguments and their relationships crumbling and people cheating on each other. It is entertaining, sadly. Just like it's entertaining to watch gladiators die by the bite of the lions and all these things. I don't like it. I don't like that it's entertaining. But this show, granted, is a little less egregious in my mind than some other shows. But what I've seen so far, again, I haven't seen the main series, the 90 Day Fiance, but I've seen this one, the Before the 90 Days. It feels a little exploitative to me. I just hope these people are more centered than they appear, and that they are a little more on the actor side of the fence and less on the real person just reacting to these things. So I just feel like, man, this will do damage. Or maybe I'm just projecting. Like, I feel like if I were in these situations being filmed and all these things were happening, it would take me a long time to recover from all this. So I hope that they are, centered in that way. I hope they get the help they could use after the fact. And I guess I'll end with, in the past, I've been pretty critical in the past episode I did of this, of the participants. I guess I'm just going to be more empathetic and say, hey, brave of you to put this out, whether a lot of it is acting or scripted or not. It's still brave of you. It's brave of you to put it out. I hope it's helping people look at relationships in a way and analyze what works and doesn't work. To the show creators, I might say something like, I feel like there should be a little more responsibility beyond what's presented. And hopefully I'm wrong. Maybe, and people can write in the comments if this is actually happening, if the show creators are following up, and if there are ways that they're trying to make sure that people are successful in life, not necessarily in the relationships, but in life after this. So, yeah. All right. Well, that does it for tonight. I hope this was interesting, and I really enjoyed it myself. My name is, again, Umberto Castañeda. This was Reactology in Seattle. So long.